Welcome to Hello You. Yes, you. The podcast that opens up the full spectrum of mental health like never before. We're not here to skim the surface. We go deep into every corner of the human experience. From international athletes to high-powered CEOs, everyday heroes to global change makers. Our guests bring raw, real, and radically different perspective on what mental health really means. This is your space, a place for truth, stories, and connection. Whether you're thriving, surviving, or somewhere in between, we're here to remind you you're not alone. So pull up a chair, take a breath, and let's talk about the stuff that matters. Welcome to the most open, honest, and inclusive mental health conversation in the world. I'm your host, Dan Darwin, and welcome to Hello You. And welcome to another episode of Hello You. Today's guest is boxer Mikey McKinson. Mikey, over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a local to Portsmouth professional boxer, Portsmouth born, bred, and based. I've been involved in boxing since very, very early, as probably 5 years old. Mm-hmm. My dad being my manager and trainer. At the time, he was involved in boxing. He boxed amateur himself, was training other people. So kind of me and my younger brother, Lucas, was born into a boxing family. Mm-hmm. So I've kind of boxed as long as I can remember. It's kind of been the only thing I know for a long time kind of thing. Been a professional I'm in my 11th year now. So I had my first competitive amateur fight on the 30th of April 2005 at 11. You had to be 11 back then. Boxed, and then I was amateur for however many years, and I turned pro in 2014. So we're in the 11th year as a professional. I've had 29 professional fights with 27 wins. The two losses have both come at kind of world level. I boxed a guy called Virgil Ortiz in Texas back in 2022. He was 18-0, 18 knockouts, tipped for stardom. I went out there and boxed for a final eliminator for the world title against him. Done really well in the fight, ended up losing through injury. My dad pulling me out in round 9 with a hip injury. But yeah, on my way up, I've won many titles. I think I've won 5 or 6 international titles. I was the WBC youth champion back in 2017, two-time WBC international champion, WBO global, WBO European as well. And then I boxed for a WBA final eliminator and an IBO world title. So very proud of my achievements. Nowhere near satisfied yet. Still got plenty to go in boxing, but yeah, I'm very proud of what I've done so far.
Yeah, and it's an impressive career.
Yeah.
So well done.
Thank you.
It takes a lot of dedication. And so the reason I wanted you as a guest on here, and we are talking mental health. And certainly mental health within sport is a big one to talk about.
Sure.
I think mental health in your line of sport is even more important because tell me about the mindset you have to get in to go towards a fight. Even from the moment it gets announced, what goes through your brain when you go, this is my opponent?
Yeah, so, the top of my head was 2021. It was my first fight on TV. I think I'd won my first 18 fights. But all on small shows for not much money, really. And I got offered a fight on 6 weeks' notice on a big Matchroom Eddie Hearn card against a guy called Chris Congo, who was undefeated, tipped for big things. They only gave me 6 weeks' notice. In my head, I knew I was good enough to win, but I knew that the boxing world didn't really know who I was. There was a lot of people, I remember fight week, going on Twitter and look at all the predictions and the Twitter polls, and nobody had me to win. Remember, it was in Gibraltar, because it was still COVID restrictions times. Eddie Hearn chartered a flight for all the boxers, the security, the media people, and it was in Gibraltar. And we were staying on the big Sunborn Yacht Hotel for the week. And there was like Ricky Hatton, Eddie Hearn, all these boxing people all around me. And I chose, this was pre-planned. I've been waiting for this moment on TV for a long time. I pre-planned how I was going to be. So I never left my room all week unless it was the press conference, the weigh-in. I wanted to keep myself away from all these big people and boxing people because I didn't want to be there as a fan. I wanted to be there to change my life. Also, the odds as well. I knew I was going to be the underdog with the bookies, and I knew my mates would be wanting to chuck money on, and like the buzz around Portsmouth that week, having a local lad fight on this big show was great. I told them all not to tell me the odds and not to tell me what they're putting money on. That was all pre-planned. So how I was going to be fight week, how I was going to be about the odds, and it's just so I could switch on myself and get the job done. Anyway, I felt like it was me against everybody, me and my small team against everybody that night, and we went out and completely changed my life. I dropped him, I won on points in the end, dropped him in round one, and then Eddie Hearn signed me, my life had changed for 3 fights at least. Okay. So I'm on a 3-fight deal. But the next day, my mates was all like sending me, I'll put £1,000 on you. It was 4-1. I was like, and like lots of people in Portsmouth earned a lot of money off me that night. But if they was to tell me beforehand, you know, there would have been a lot of pressure on me. So I kind of pre-planned when you were saying, what's it like to get in that story just popped to the straight in my head because it was a good memory where I was in control of everything. Okay. How I was going to be, how I was going to act, and what was going to happen. But yeah, it's a scary sport to be in. As you can imagine, you're like, I'm in the changing rooms before every fight thinking, why am I doing this again? Where's a window so I can jump out of and run away? Like that, but those thoughts go through every boxer's head. Like, I don't need to be doing this. This is scary. I'm just about to go out there and have a fight in front of thousands of people, even more on TV and stuff. Like, in this dangerous sport we're in, I don't have to be doing this at all. Yeah. And then it's not until the fight's over and you get your hand raised and everything that you've sacrificed for me, it's not just the 6-10 weeks before a fight. It's since I was 5 years old. You know, every fight I win, the sacrifice and the things that people don't see, it's all worth it. And there's not, I'm telling you now, other than my 2 kids being born, there's no better feeling in the world when you get your hand raised in a boxing ring that I've ever experienced. Because it's all that hard work and sacrifice pays off. Yeah.
So the resilience levels to keep you in that changing room when your brain's telling you to leave, that must be a real battle going on in your mind.
It's tough, but you kind of, in one ear you've got all of these like kind of like last minute doubts and things like that, but then what outweighs that is how hard you've worked to get there and you deserve to be there, and you kind of, I would never go into a fight. There's been times in the past I've gone into a fight kind of at like 70%, if that, and kind of the performance was never good. So I've learnt from them, I never go into a fight unless I'm 100%, except a time about 18 months ago. But I guess we'll speak about that when we speak about my losses. But yeah, like I know that how hard I train. I cut no corners in training, and I work really hard, even down to the dieting and the. Like I don't weigh my food. A big shout out to my girlfriend. She weighs my food for me, down to the gram. So like I don't cheat because it's a dangerous sport to be in. So you can't cheat. And I know that I'm so disciplined that that's it. That's in one ear. It's like the angel in one ear and the devil in the other. You know. But it always works out. It always works out well. It's a very scary. And you know, like. I've had 29 professional fights. I had 50 before turning professional. So I've had a lot of experience in boxing. I still get just as nervous now as I did at 11 years old. That never go, people, oh, you must not get nervous anymore. No, I really do get nervous, but it's how you deal with those nerves because of all my hard work that I've done in the build-up. You know, you trust your work.
So there's a couple of bits there because I'm a huge fan of looking at fight or flight in humans, and we need it. It's a primal instinct that keeps us alive.
Yeah,
you're obviously about to get into a boxing ring to fight another man.
Yeah,
you know you're going to get punched, and you know you're going to throw some punches.
Yeah,
your fight or flight must be going off because you can't stop it. It's uncontrollable.
Yeah.
So tell us, how do you deal with that fight or flight? What do you tell yourself?
Listen, as soon as that bell goes and you've got somebody else that's trying to take away everything from you, firstly trying to hurt you, trying to take your spot, or, you know, like, what could happen for the loser? Do you know what I mean? Like, and things like that. Like, there's no way you're going to let him take all that from you. That's how I see it. You know, so it's quite easy to go to that fight or flight where, you know, it's time now, because if I don't perform and if I don't raise my game, I'm going to get beat up.
Yeah.
Live on TV, in front of thousands here, and then where do we go from there?
Yeah.
You know? I've worked too hard for too long to kind of fail now.
So tell me then, and I'm sure people listening to this and people watching this now, because we're multi-channels, they will be intrigued because most of them have never had to go through the discipline that a boxer has to go through from the start of the camp to get to that weigh-in. Tell us what's a day for Mikey in day one of camp?
So firstly, I'm away quite a lot. Now, that's very hard. Like, for example, right now at the time of filming, I don't have a fight date. We could have had a fight date. We're trying to get a fight date. But because we could have had a fight date, we spoke to my sponsors and things like that, and they've sent me away. So I've been going away every other week for the last, for the last probably 10 weeks. I've got a newborn son at home that's only 3.5 months old, so he was very young. Like, I'm away every other week right now, so that's difficult, being away from your kids, your family. But on the other hand, you're away from distraction, you're away from responsibilities, and you can really focus on training, resting and eating. That's it.
Okay.
So it's happened for a long time. No good comes out of me spending a training camp in Portsmouth. I'm one of the better fighters from Portsmouth. I need to be out of my comfort zone. I need to be in hostility to be able to grow and develop as a fighter. And I've been a pro a long time, but I'm still growing, I'm still learning, still developing. So we try to get away as much as possible.
Okay.
Whilst being away, you're obviously dieting. People don't really touch on the dieting side of. I've been making, it's 66.7 kilograms, my championship weight, which is 10.5 stone. I've been making that since I was 18 years old. I've been making that since before I was pro. I was making that when I was a young kid. Now I'm 31 years old. It ain't easy to do that. You have to be very strict, very kind of like to the gram.
Yeah.
Weigh my food and kind of like be very, very disciplined with the eating, the drinking, the water intake. Like in camp, I kind of drink up to 6 litres of water a day, even more closer to kind of like the weigh-in, you know.
And I'm coming from a position where I look after myself. I like to go to the gym. I can tell you right now, I don't drink anywhere near 6 litres. I think I'd be in and out of the bathroom all day if I'm drinking 6 litres.
You get to like 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and then that's it, in and out every 15 minutes. But it's really tough because you're always on kind of a deficit. You're always training. We train 2-3 times a day. You're going away for sparring, you're going to be having it hard with the sparring partners. There's aches and pains every day being a professional boxer. Your job is to be in this combat sport where you're really putting your body through it day in, day out. So when when people see the weigh-ins, you've got to realise what that guy has been through for the last however long to be able to, firstly, look like that.
Yeah.
Secondly, be able to perform at the top of your ability and whatever level they are in boxing. You go through a lot and there's a lot of sacrifice, and I'm not even touching on the social life.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Do you have a social life?
I've not had a social life for years. My social life is, right, and it's been for the last 7 years. I'm a bit of a nerd. So I go, whenever I'm in Portsmouth, if I'm training at home and it's on a Sunday, I'll go to my local quiz night. Like, and I'm a bit of a nerd. I used to like watching like quiz shows.
I actually got told you were quite good. I know people have seen you there, and they've said you're quite good. The local pub in the Guildhall.
Yeah,
that's
the one.
I've attended that one myself. We have a team who win quite regularly. But I've mentioned to some of my friends that you were coming on here, and they said he's actually quite good at the quiz, you know.
Yeah.
So
I am. People don't realise I'm not too bad, but like that all started back in when the quizmaster does it now. It was at another pub. He does a few different pubs. That started because I was able to go and feel normal for a couple of hours a week, feel like a normal guy. I could see my friends and they can have a drink if they want to, and I'll just get to socialise. That's my social life.
And when we talk about from a mental health point of view, we've got to have coping strategies, things that reset our brain and give us a bit of enjoyment. So for you, doing that on a Sunday when you're at home in Portsmouth, it's a nice mental reset.
On a Sunday night, and there's been times like if I was coming home, I would want to come home on a Saturday just to be able to do that on the Sunday.
Okay.
You know? Other than obviously seeing my kids, I have 2 kids and I have 2 step kids as well, so it's pretty full on at home all the time. Spending time with, I'm a family man, so spending time with the kids or going to that thing on a Sunday, that is really the only social life I have. There's been times I've missed birthdays, I've missed all different types of, I've missed my mum's 50th and all things like that because I've been dieting, I've been away and things like that. That comes first. I can enjoy my social life when I retire.
Okay.
You know, there's been times when I was young, like people, Michael McKinson's lying. I used to see him out like all the time. When I was young, not all the time, but I had a social life and things like that. But it weren't until you kind of get older and you know that even when you don't have a fight, you have to look after your body in this game. Like I'm in my 11th year, so it's and the secret is for the last few years I don't drink really, maybe once a year, something like that. So I don't have a social life. I look after my body like as much as I can.
And I've picked up on a key factor there that obviously the way you talk about it and the way you rationalise it for your own mental health is that you're going to enjoy these things later in life.
Of course.
You've just had to sacrifice it now for the peak career.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what people don't realise, I think, from top athletes. What you actually sacrifice is huge.
Yeah.
And you've got to offset it somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, it's not just the food. And not just the food, it's the...
Missing your mum's 50th, it's massive, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it wasn't like a big thing, but I remember like them not going for a meal and I was like, oh, sorry, like I can't come. I'm literally training for a fight. I'm dieting. There's lots of meals I miss.
I was going to say, you can't really hide it when your dad's there as your coach and,
that's
and
it.
trainer.
And that's, to be fair, growing up with me and my brother and our dad, our coach, it was, you couldn't kind of cheat the game.
Yeah.
You couldn't. And like back when we were kids, there were times where like my friends we would finish school and they would go out and play football and things like that. We would go home, eat, go to the boxing gym. Because me and my brother, for our teenage years, we were going to our amateur gym 2-3 times a week, then also going to train with the pros with my dad 2-3 times a week. My dad would wake us up before school and college, so 14, 15 years old or whatever, to go for a run before school. And then sometimes go swimming before school. Things like that was our childhood. We didn't really have the standard, like, after school, you socialise. No way. We
See,
do.
I've released a book around my mental health journey called "What Is Normal Anyway."
Yeah,
and that just proves there is no normal, right?
Yeah.
It's what the difference is, isn't it, between you and someone that doesn't make it out of amateur?
You know what? We see, me personally, growing up, there was always loads of talented kids in our amateur club, and kind of we were probably the most disciplined because of how we had our dad. Lots of these talented kids give up by the time they're 15, 16, 17, 18. We carried on because that was our path kind of naturally set for us. And we might not have been the best back then, but look where we are now. And there was times as kids, I resented it a couple of times. And I remember one time my dad said, okay, I must have been 13. It was that when my brother was just starting to like train properly and stuff. I might have been 12, and I remember went into a bit of like a lazy stage at 12, and I didn't really want to do the boxing, and he said, okay, don't do it. And for about a couple of weeks, I was finishing school and going out and playing with my friends and going to play football and things like that. And I remember coming home, and it was when my brother had just like started, my dad taking him on the pads, and we had a bag like out the back garden, and he was starting, and I felt really left out. So my retirement lasted about 2 weeks. Yeah, that's how, and I was about 12, 13 years old, and kind of by that time, I had to have boxing in my life. And
what you've just said, if there is anybody that's up and coming, wants to be an athlete, you said something there, and I stick by this, that hard work always beats talent if talent doesn't work hard. It doesn't matter how good you are if you do not want to put the work in as well. And you're an inspiration to people that have listening to this that want to go into that field. So that's really good.
It's consistency also. You know, like lots of more talented. And when I was an amateur in boxing, I probably 9 seasons as an amateur from 11 to 19. And so a long time, 8 years. And I never won one national title. And so as far as I'm concerned, like in the boxing world, I didn't win anything as an amateur because I never won the nationals once. All the guys that I'm beating and I've beat on the way up, one was superstar amateurs, won titles for fun. And it weren't until we were adults and it was in a professional ring for money, I started becoming the more successful one.
Is that when your discipline kicks in, do you think?
I tell you what, my switch came when I probably, as an amateur still, in terms of my training, I was probably about 14, 15. My mum and dad split up. Me and my brother went to live with my dad. And we were training like professional athletes I was 15. Like, it was more me because I was the older one. That's where my switching kind of discipline came. So then, although I wasn't really getting a lot of results as an amateur, I was already training like a professional from that age.
Can I ask you, at that point, did you feel, because obviously a divorce, when parents go through divorces, as kids, we sort of notice a little bit, but when we're sort of 14, 15, we sort of realise a little bit more that's going on. Did boxing help you through that?
Do you know what? It wasn't really like the normal kind of like cliche stories and stuff like that. We knew our boxing was going to take off being with our dad. It was like the best thing that could have happened for us, really. Like kind of my dad, like we were like dieting 24/7. Like we not dieting, but we was having like healthy meals for dinner all the time, and our dad being a boxing coach. And like, it's not until we're adults right now, we were so lucky, really, like to have had our dad as our boxing trainer. Have that kind of, maybe as kids, like people would think, oh, they're getting pushed into boxing a little bit because it was so hard from early on. God, we're so lucky all of that happened. Yeah. Because look where we ended up. The no childhood, the no like, yeah, like what is normal? You know, it is what is normal. But at that sort of age, I was pretty wise enough to know this is going to be the best thing right now. And it was good. Like, obviously, yeah, I was probably 14, 15 when they kind of split up, but we were kind of always seeing our mum, always seeing our dad. They kind of lived near each other anyway, so it wasn't that hard, you know?
Yeah. We talk about the physical health. We've talked about the diet side of it.
Yeah.
Those two things go hand in hand for our good mental health to work.
Yeah.
So when we talk about pushing our bodies physically every day in a calorie deficit, how was your mental health in the training camps with that? How do you feel on a daily basis?
You know what? Especially in my earlier years, you become snappy naturally, like always hungry. People, as it gets closer to your fight, little things just annoy you and like aggravate you, and you are all over the place a little bit. As I've got older, I've kind of experienced enough, knows how to handle it, and like the people around me as well can understand it more over the years. But I know a lot of boxers do become snappy with the calorie deficit. And as it gets closer, and boxing's the only thing on your mind. If you're training for a fight, the first thing you're thinking about when you wake up in the morning is the fight, your opponent. The last thing at night is the fight, your opponent. What needs to be sorted, your training, everything's boxing. So yeah, it is pretty full on. So then your emotions do take over a little bit at times, and you are more snappier than usual. You are kind of like some days miserable. You know, it is a little bit like that. I'm quite experienced to find a real good balance. And, you know, like, for example, last year my girlfriend was pregnant, and like I'm on a real bad diet. So I wasn't that bad of having somebody pregnant eating what they wanted. In fact, I would encourage it, you know what I mean? Good few years ago, I'd have probably been the opposite, you know, like people. I remember one time, me and my brother shared a flat together, and I had just come back for a run, and he's in the house. We hardly really see each other, although he had his room, I had my room, like, you all right? And the door went. I went, what's that? I had just got out the shower, and I was smelling it. He had ordered a curry, right? We're 4 days before my fight, and I was leaving to go to my fight the next day, right? And I wouldn't have normally kicked off, but I kicked off at him, and we came face to face like that, right? Bear in mind, I was in a towel at the time, like two brothers, and I was thinking, God, he's ordering a curry 4 days before my fight, and you know, like the smell when it comes inside the house, and I'm like, oh. So there's been times where I've been like it, like people around me, like eating what they want, but I've kind of learned not to be like. At the end of the day, I'm the one that's going to be getting paid to do this. I should be the one making the sacrifices, nobody else.
Yeah,
You know?
and it's something I say a lot on this show is only self can change self.
Yeah, sure.
So you give in to that and say, I'll just have a bit of curry.
Yeah, no.
You regret it as soon as you leave, don't
Sure,
you? Your mental health kicks in and
like,
says...
Like, if I got a phone call right now saying, you're fighting. So for the last 10 weeks, I've lost quite a bit of weight, and I've really knuckled down. Like, everyone's happy with me at the moment. I'm obviously every other week away, but I haven't had a fight date. If I get my fight date right now today, although I've been doing so well for the last few months, there's like a click of the fingers, something changes. And because at the same time, I can't cut any corners in anything. You know what I mean? I really can't. And it ain't easy making weight. It really isn't easy making weight at all. So even if I wanted to, I couldn't.
Yeah.
There's no kind of room for, like, because it's so difficult to make weight being a boxer. Like, if I go out and have like a cheat meal like that, sometimes my nutritionist gives me a cheat, like, you call it a refeed. You know? Yeah. And like that, I know I'm having a refeed when I'm doing really well in everything, and it also helps kind of I was speaking to you before, I don't know like lots about it, but when you start to plateau as well, you have a refeed and you it just kickstarts your metabolism a bit and kind of your mood as well and things like that. And it's always happy when. Can we just give a big shout out to my nutritionist, Greg Allison?
Yeah, of course.
Without him, he's been part of the team for the last 8 years, and without him, I'd be fighting a heavyweight probably. But
it is amazing how much food does for your own well-being and your own mental health.
Wow.
In positivity-wise, it's a big thing, isn't it?
Really, yeah. So, you know that refeed that I have like once in a camp, halfway through a camp or whatever, when he says, have a refeed tonight, Mike, and your mood just changes and you're happy. And do you know what? Not a lot happens to your weight when you have a refeed. It's actually mental. It really is. Like, he'll say, have a refeed, so I'll eat what I want one evening. Not what I want to the fact I'm not ordering like a takeaway or anything like that, but I'll really have a nice refeed. And I look on the scales 2 days later, it's no different. You know what I mean? So
it's a big block in our brains. And I talk to people, there's 3 things that are really important when we talk mental health, really. It's your view of the world is important.
Yeah.
How you see it, positivity or negativity, that's important because you perceive the world differently, how you view it. Next one is sleep. If you're not getting enough sleep, it's going to affect your mental health. The third one is food. Because when you mess around with food, and people think, you know, people who are overweight and not happy in their skin, and they're like, oh, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. And I always say there's no such thing as a bad food. It's just how much you eat of it.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and it comes back to what you said, consistency and discipline.
Yeah.
And that's what changes things. But I am amazed that, you know, the camp must be really hard. So to get that break in the middle and just be able to have some feed. And then, okay, let's talk about, we've said about when you said having your hand held up at the end of the fight just pays tribute to all that hard work you've done from, you know, you say 5 years old, from when you got into the sport. Tell me about what happens after you've done all this hard work and it's not your hand that's held up at the last.
You know what? I can speak more about my losses than I can my wins. I'll learn more about my losses than I do my wins, and about myself, the people around me, people like that. So I've lost twice in a professional ring.
Okay.
The first time I lost, I brushed up on it earlier. It was in Texas. 2022, I became the first fighter from Hampshire to go and fight in America and headline in America. I did it twice. And I think I'm the only one to ever headline like from this area.
Okay. Well done, by the way.
I won the first one. The second one was for a final eliminator for the world title. I fought Virgil Ortiz, who was 18 fights, 18 wins, 18 knockouts. And it was in his home kind of area, Fort Worth, Texas. Beautiful place. I came to the ring, a cauldron of, like, he was like a Mexican-American, so a cauldron of like Texans, Mexicans, like booing me. I left the ring to everybody giving me a standing ovation, cheering me. I did very, very well in the fight. I won rounds. I cut him. I really earned respect to the boxing world. Round 8 came. I was down on the card, but I was it was really competitive. I was winning rounds as well. And he hit that hard that he hit my hip bone and ligament shattered. And I went back to the corner. Something's happened to my dad. He was going to pull me out after round 8. The pride thing got into me. I was like, because if you were to say the round before, oh, it's going to end in the next round, I would have said you're lying because I was doing so well. So he let me go out for round 9 on pride. I was defenceless, couldn't put weight on my right leg, couldn't throw my right arm because everything came off that side. And my dad pulled me out about a minute later into round 9. Tough to take my first loss, you know, although there was nothing but praise afterwards from the whole of the boxing world, how I performed. I was 9-1 underdog. So it was like everyone expected me to lose in 2 rounds kind of thing. So I exceeded everybody's expectations of me, but I didn't win. So I could never be proud of a loss. But there was a lot of praise that came with it. And got back, like, I couldn't hardly walk, but as we walked, I couldn't get out of the ring. Like, I had to get helped out of the ring because of my hip. And then I didn't want to sit down, like, because I didn't think I'd get back up kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I was like limping down like the tunnel, everyone cheering me. Had a shower, And my dad was like waiting for me like just outside the shower, just in case like anything. And they came in and said, "Oh, the post-fight press conference, would you come and do it? You don't have to. You've just lost. We understand." I said, "No, let's do it." And I can actually find it on YouTube. I walk into the room and everyone's cheering me and stuff like that. It was like I had just won. Quite emotional.
Yeah.
But like I really won the respect of everybody, the media team, the boxing world, the whole of boxing really that night. So I did well, but I lost.
Okay.
Right, so
I've got a couple of questions there.
yeah.
How does it feel to walk into that ring being booed? Is number one.
Do you know? Yeah.
And what changes in your head when you're walking out to the elation of it, but knowing you've lost?
Yeah, it was.
Tell me what's going through your head.
It's not the only time I've come to the ring with booze.
Okay.
And I really love it. You know, that pressure, like it's me against the world type feeling. I love it. Boo me all you like. It makes me perform better.
Okay.
It really does. Some people crumble.
Yeah.
Under like circumstances like that.
Well, it's high pressure, right?
Of course. And they're all booing you. Like some people could really go really small and like I stuck my chest out and be like less at like it was an unbelievable feeling. It really was. And coming out it was it was a strange one really. But I was thinking, wow, like I've just changed everyone's like thing off a loss. Like I went in there with one of the pound for pound biggest prospects in the world that no one wanted to fight in his home city, not only his home country, his home city. I cut him, I won rounds and I stuck it on him. Like I'd done really well and earned respect of him, all the boxing people. And but that was my third fight with Eddie Hearn, Matchroom.
Okay.
It was only a 3-fight deal.
Yep.
But I thought, off of that performance, I think good things are going to come here. Like, and they didn't re-sign.
Okay.
Didn't re-sign, and it was like I left Texas with kind of a lot of reassurance that it doesn't matter what's next. It's going to be good, and it wasn't that way. And
Okay.
I don't understand why. So I got onto a couple of good cards, like without a promoter, but like on Sky Sports, like. A promotion had me on their cards, but I wasn't signed with them. And they were on some really good cards, but really low down. I went from headlining in America to fighting at like 6 p.m. on YouTube. Not like on the YouTube, you know, before it's on YouTube before it goes live.
Right, okay.
You know, so like the early prelims or whatever
Yeah.
they call it. And that was tough, but I thought, you know what, a couple of wins on these just to come back. And I did. I won like I think 4 or 5 in a row, stopped like a couple of TKOs in that. And then I got offered a IBO, which is a version of the world title. It's not one of the 4 main ones, but it's like the 5th one.
Okay.
So it's world title.
Yeah.
And money wasn't great and things like that, but it's an IBO shot. I win this, I'm back at the big leagues. Like when I was going to America, they was flying me business class. I was rubbing shoulders with like legends of boxing, like it was great. So I thought, right, this IBO shot is against somebody that is from South Africa, Talani and Benge. He's higher than me in the rankings, but it's a very winnable fight. And so I trained really hard. This was kind of like, we got the news in May. I think we were going to fight. We got the news in April, we were going to fight in June. Started training in April. Then my sponsors paid for me to go to New York. We were out there. The fight's been moved back 6 weeks. So then we come back. We go to New York again. It gets moved back. The fight was meant to be in June. It kept getting moved back. And then we was in Philadelphia. So we went to America 3 times. I was training for like 5 months.
Yeah.
I was in Philadelphia at the end. So the fight was October the 17th, I think, last year. And I was training. And then 3 weeks before the fight, we flew to Philadelphia to train and spar with the best. He's just moved up, but the best at the time, welterweight, person my weight in the world, Jaron Boots Ennis. Now, we paid to go to his gym. He was finding it hard to have sparring partners anyway. We paid to go to his gym to look for that sparring. And I was over there, and it was the hardest rounds I've ever had in a ring. But the camp I had, it was a long camp because it was like 5 months long. It kept getting moved. I was like, I had a great and amazing camp. I put everything in. I flew home 10 days before the fight with the flu.
Oh.
And I was really right off. I couldn't breathe, but I felt really weak. And in my head, I'd not had an income all year because I'd fought in the December before. Now we're in October because the fight kept getting moved back. And I've got an IBO world title shot. That probably won't ever get rescheduled if I pull out. So the money and the opportunity. And I was like, if I can get rid of this flu, I'll be okay in the fight. Look how hard I've been training. Look how fit I am. I was in and out like every day, kind of like trying to do stuff to try and breathe again. And then it got to fight week. I started to breathe again. I was thinking, okay, I'll be a lot stronger. And if I make weight okay, I'll be all right. So fight week comes. The cold bit is fine. And I'm feeling better in myself. I'm going to be okay. But all the hard training's finished. So I didn't actually know how I'd be under the circumstances, but I was just trusting everything that I've put in.
Yeah.
Anyway, makes weight okay. Gets to fight night, and I felt a bit weird all day. I don't know if that's things in my head, but I felt really, really like I was doubting a lot more, and I was feeling a lot more tired on the actual day of the fight. Gets to the venue, and in the changing rooms before, I'm getting really tired, really easy. But that always happens through nervous energy. So in my head, we just put that down as nervous energy.
Yeah.
Ring walk comes on, I was feeling good, like walking to the ring. Gets in the ring, has a good first round. I actually hit him with a shot, his legs went, and I nearly knocked him out in round 1. And then, I stuck it on him a little bit to try and finish, but then the bell went. He saved by the bell. And then as I was walking back at the end of the first round, I felt like all of my energy had just been sucked from my whole body. And I felt weak. Just walking back to the corner after the first round, and I was so fit. Sat down in the corner thinking, I've got 12 rounds of this. How am I going to do 12 rounds of this? Like, when you have the flu, you don't just get rid of it. And it took me getting in the ring to find that out. And
but your mindset has obviously changed. You've talked yourself in the ring into that negative mindset, haven't you? Because your body is telling you something.
Yeah, it was. And then I remember sitting down in the corner after round 1 thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to last 12 rounds of this because I don't feel good at all. And then in the fight, like people that watched it and have seen me before kind of knew that there was something off that night. And I'll tell you now, it's the hardest 12 rounds I've ever done on pure because I had no energy. I fought the whole fight on a good chin and a big heart. And if anything, I won the last few rounds just on pure like desperation and nothing in my shots and lost the fight on points. But in my mind, I knew why, but I didn't want to jump out and say why. You know, like
we've seen it a few times now, haven't we? With boxers coming out with excuses straight after the fight, and people sort of just go, "Is that bitterness? Is that you know?" Because everyone's got an excuse somewhere, haven't they?
That's
you know,
it.
but
and
fair play.
And then it was harder to take than my other loss by a lot, you know, because I know why I lost. The whole boxing world now thinks I'm done because of that performance.
Okay.
100% because I've been a pro a long time. I've been to, and how I perform, they might boxers go overnight like that. So they think that I'm not going to get anything off this. And I remember my girlfriend, she had not gone on maternity yet. She didn't want to go back to work. She had took a few days off, and I didn't want to leave my house for about 4 or 5 days. And she was like making me go to the school run with her and at the end kind of thing. It was a tough one. It was really tough. But I remember even after that, like a few people, you'll always remember the people that messaged you just to check in to see how you were. I can count on one hand. It's actually it is mental. And I learnt more about that loss, but kind of...
How did you snap yourself out of that?
Right, so... I wanted to fight ASAP after that. And
Was that because you wanted to get that loss out of your system,
Yeah.
or was it feeling like you got something to prove, that bit? Or you know, because what you described there, not wanting to leave the house, is almost that first stages of the depression sort of side. Those emotions are starting to go, and
Yeah.
you know, so you want to get back fighting. What was your reason for that?
because I didn't want to end last year on that performance, because it would have dwelled on me for a long time, and kind of like you say, oh, the demons, you need to get the demons out, things like that. It was more for me than anybody else. And I fought again 7 weeks later on a small show.
Okay.
No TV, nothing like that. Not one penny came in my pocket. We paid to fight, basically. So it cost us to fight. Well, my sponsor. And we and the few ticket sales that I sold, not a lot at all. We thought we was meant to be fighting a guy from Tanzania with a good record, Tanzania and Africa,
Yeah.
and his visa didn't get accepted in time or something. So I had to box somebody with like 5 professional fights. He was tough and he was like slippery and stuff, but I shouldn't have probably been in the ring with him really. And he done well to survive the 6. It was a 6-round fight, and not like I won on points. I won every round and things like that. But for me, it was more than that. It was just, it was for me, because how bad I took the loss. And even at that point, it was me against everybody. I didn't really trust anybody. Like, even like people in like the gym and stuff like that. How do they actually think? Do they think I'm finished? Do you know what I mean? Like, even like the people I'm around every day, do they think I'm finished? And it was kind of like, I've got my back up against the wall here. I need to finish the year with a win. So I did. I was back in the ring 7 weeks after that loss.
I think that shows the mindset where you are, in terms of when we are so negative about stuff and we've got those doubts in our head, we do start thinking, what are other people thinking about us?
Sure.
When we're in our positive state, we don't really care.
No, yeah.
We go out and get the job done, and that's what you do. I can already see from talking to you, from the you versus the world thing that drives you, there's no way you're done.
Yeah.
There is no way you're done.
Yeah.
You've got too much there, too much passion still left to say that you're done.
Yeah.
The bits I wanted to sort of highlight from that is, obviously that loss hit you hard and probably affected your mental health a lot there. And I think it's, maybe I'm wrong, you can correct me, that long training camp, I think you thought, you know, because of that, it's going to stand you in good stead no matter what.
Yeah.
But the flu really knocked you.
Yeah.
But then, you know, coming out of that, you're thinking, that was probably a winnable fight, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And is that what caused the
9
thing?
times out of 10, I would have beat that guy.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'll take nothing away from the guy, because he came well prepared and he gave it his all and beat me fair and square. But the fact is, I was better than him.
Yeah.
And I could have 100% beat him, and I didn't. And that was like my moment, and I failed. And like I said before, I worked too hard to fail. I put in too much to fail, and I failed. And it was really hard to take, because I was the bookie's favourite.
Yeah.
I know I've said I always perform better being the underdog and things like that. He was, in the world rankings, he was a good probably 10 places higher than me. But I was the bookie's favourite. It was my country. He was flew in to fight me. I was the kind of A side, so to speak. It was my time to win a decent belt, and I didn't. And it was like, it was a tough one.
Yeah. And it sounds like, and I was going to ask you the question, do you go away and reflect on your fights? And certainly after that hip injury, how does that affect your mental health? Because we've already said physical and mental health so entwined.
Yeah.
Where one goes, because you wouldn't be able to train, you wouldn't be able to do the stuff you were doing.
Sure.
So it obviously going to affect you. How do you look at that?
So the hip injury one, I got paid well for. This was my biggest fight, my biggest year of boxing, but it ended with a hip injury and me being in excruciating pain in the ring.
Yeah.
It was my 3rd fight with Matchroom. And they, like, my dad spoke to a few people and they said, we'll be in touch in the new year. But we were in August. And a lot of people could have expected me to go sit on a beach somewhere for a couple of months and enjoy myself, and I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to keep the momentum. Although I was injured, I had a month off training, and then I wanted to go again. And there was an opportunity of me boxing down the card in Bournemouth on a Sky Sports card, but on the YouTube bit. So I decided, this was in the December, I decided to get cracking with my career again. And I was straight back into it. Again, I didn't want to end that year, my best year in boxing 2022, with a loss. So I boxed a tough guy from South America, and he came in like half a stone heavy, and I beat him on points, and I was getting my career back underway.
And does that help you? Because obviously you've come off the back of an injury, which must have been hard to not be able to do anything. Because having already talked to you, and I spoke to you before we came in, you are very disciplined in what you do, and you've got a goal. You've already said retirement's when you're going to enjoy. Yeah. So you've got a goal and you're disciplined. How does Mikey sit there with this injury and cope with not being able to do what he usually does?
It was tough. So after the fight, luckily, back then with like the big show and we were allowed more people to come, like paid for to come with us. I had my not my nutritionist, he was there, but I had my physio with me, and that is a very luxury that I had in that fight, because the next day I was on the phone back home to my mates in England or something in the morning, and this I'd not got up yet properly, and as I got out of bed whilst on FaceTime, my whole body seized up. I was in like screaming in pain. I was in so much pain. But then my physio had me in the pool every day. The last few days I was in Texas, he had me in the pool. So I was still kind of like doing stuff, having to do stuff in the days after the fight. And then kind of, even when I got back, I had to do like rehab stuff and stuff like that. And then I kind of got over it. But it was that pain I felt in the ring there with my hip was probably the worst pain I felt in being a boxer. It was, but not only that, you see it like on my face on like the TV and stuff. You can see how much pain I was in. It was, it was a.
Do you think if you're an amateur without the luxury of a physio or a top end physio, you've got NHS, which we're very lucky to have the NHS and the physio services they provide. But if you're an amateur, you get that injury without a decent physio, without your discipline levels. Is that a game over injury?
I would say like you look probably 20, 25 years ago, professional boxing, there was no such thing as like nutritionists or physios and things like that. It's mental to see how far it's come. But yeah, like I would definitely giving advice to any young people is definitely educate themselves on nutrition or get a nutritionist to help you.
Yeah.
Like, and a physio is, but the thing is, it's hard because they cost, don't they? They do cost and things like that. But it's such a good investment and things like that, because I've only had a proper physio for 4 years now. I've had people helping me out, and there's no disrespect to everyone else that helped me, but like the physio I've got now was about, I think, 4 years, and I had it was 4 years. 2021, I started working with him. I was fighting it was my first fight with Eddie Hearn, and I had an injury that I didn't know my muscles and things like that, and I didn't know what injury it was, and somebody recommended him, so I went to see him, and I learned about a rotator cuff. I didn't know about stuff like that. I'm a boxer, I'll get punched, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So I had an irritated rotator cuff, and it was only like a few weeks before the fight, but he kind of helped me out. We got through the fight. I boxed. People don't realise that fight, I won every round, but I had a rotator cuff irritation where I couldn't throw certain punches.
Yeah, because it impinges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't throw, like my front hook, for example, couldn't throw that at all. People wouldn't know watching the fight, but then since then, I kind of worked really like close with my physio. I do like my S&C with him and his team now, just to keep everything close together and and stuff like that, and we work really well together. But
You're right, and it's a science now, isn't it? Because you've got a strength and conditioning coach.
Of course.
You've got your physio. You've got your nutritionalist.
Yeah.
Your dad's there as your trainer to keep you on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
It is a science, isn't it? There's so much. And we spoke before we started recording about the testing you do to get your nutritional levels right. So you're taking in the right amount of calories and the right food at the right time.
Sure, yeah.
Your body's a machine.
Yeah.
So
it really is. We were saying before, like, I put a lot of trust and belief in my nutritionist, and I don't necessarily educate myself as much as like other people, but it's down to pure trust in my nutritionist, and he does an amazing job with me. But like every member of my team, my nutritionist, my physio, my S&C, my boxing coach, they all work so well together. So yeah, it's not just me that's doing it. We all put a shift in.
yeah.
Without any of those guys, I'd be half the man I am.
I think it's interesting for me, not being a high-end athlete. I've not been to the arenas that you've been, and certainly when you're in those arenas, it's you. There's no hiding space, is there? So everybody's looking at you. Every camera is on you. There's not like it's on a football field where it could be someone else could take the pressure off.
No.
It's on you. I've not been there. I've not done it. I can't understand. But what's been interesting in listening to you is the mindset you've got, the resilience you've got, the way you bounce back is really key. And for anyone that's listening, I think the amount of positivity and belief you have in yourself is key for your own mental health.
Yeah, like, do you know, when I had my breakthrough in 2021, what made it so sweet is because I've seen what it's like at the very dirt of professional boxing, the bottom. I turned professional young.
Yeah.
I wasn't popular. I couldn't sell tickets in Portsmouth. I remember I couldn't sell 30 tickets in Portsmouth in my own city for one of my fights. And I had to pay, well, my sponsor at the time, they had to pay to cover the opponent's purse, things like that. I didn't get a penny out of it. So then when I fought in LA, I had triple that fly over to watch me in LA. It's mental. But yeah, I've seen the very bottom. I didn't earn a penny for my first 10 professional fights. I knew how hard it was, the struggles to have to sell tickets and still not be able to get any money for a fight, and having to do it all yourself, and then the payouts as well. When you do get paid to a fight, you got percentages that you have to pay out to certain people. And early on, when you're fighting on the small cards with no sponsors and things like that, you get nothing out of it at all, except maybe just working the record. I got to my first 10-0. I was 10-0. I couldn't sell enough tickets to do more rounds. So a lot of them was just the basic 4-round fights. It weren't until I started taking opportunities as like the B side where I could potentially lose this one and I'm in against the favourite, is when I started getting paid a little bit more and then taking opportunities. So I've seen what it's like at the bottom. So I remember when I fought in LA the first time, I was meant to fight Ortiz and he pulled out. I fought another American, and we turn up to the airport and my flight's business class, and I'm thinking, I had a little black eye at the time. I've just had a training camp, and I'm here like, what am I doing in business class? I was brought up in Lee Park, like, you know what I mean? I'm here like business class, being flown by Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy, to America. Like, this is great. Do you know what I mean? And it's even better because I didn't turn professional already on TV. It took me 19 fights and years of being poor to get there.
Yeah.
Like when all my friends left school and started learning like trades and things like that, I didn't. I wish I did. Like I put all my eggs into boxing, so I was always the skint friend for a long time. Do you know what I mean?
Do people think because you're professional, that
Yeah.
you're earning big money?
No, it wasn't like that. Like, there's been fights where, obviously, the America ones and things like that, but on my way up on the small cards, didn't hardly earn anything.
So your mental resilience had to be strong.
Yeah.
To keep going.
And like, I remember when I quit work. So 2017, I was already a professional for 3 years, but I was working in a marketing office as like a campaign manager. And I wasn't any good. But I was just like, even the bosses, they knew boxing was like my passion and things like that. So they kind of knew all of that. And I was getting by, I was doing all right. And I won my first 2 titles in 2017 whilst working a 9 to 5. That's training before work, after work, and having a baby daughter at home. Not really seeing, right? And I won my first title. It was tough. That year was probably the hardest year to balance being a full-time professional boxer and a full-time, like, being at work and stuff, you know? And then my second title was in Portsmouth. It was the last time I boxed in Portsmouth 8 years ago.
Okay.
And fight week, when I'm making weight, I'm depleted, everything, I was still going to work, but doing bare minimum. And I won my title. I won by stoppage on a high. Goes in the Monday morning, looks on the emails, I've got a disciplinary hearing the next day, like a meeting. And it was kind of then I thought, wow, like, what I do, just because it was 2 days, I was still working, but just like bare minimum. And they tried to like kind of pick me up on it. I went in the next day. Bear in mind, I've got a nearly 1-year-old at home. I've got no financial backing, sponsorship. I handed in my notice at work. And I said, I'll never work again.
There's the belief.
That was the biggest gamble I've ever taken, right? Because I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
Like this, and then I started doing a little bit of like PT and boxing, like in my own time, to be able to get a little bit come in, and then slowly but surely I managed to get nick a sponsor here, a couple of £100 here, like, and that's how kind of it was for a few years. And it was a massive gamble because I had to really quit work then, because where would my career have gone? It was so difficult to be able to do both.
Yeah.
And that was 2017, November 2017. I worked up till the Christmas, and then that was me done. And I haven't worked since. Like, I haven't been employed since. I'm self-employed now.
Yeah.
But, like,
I think what you do now is hard enough.
Sure, yeah.
But
What I'm trying to go back to is the early years and the really struggles of professional boxing. I've been there and done it, got the T-shirt and suffered, you know.
Yeah. And
then I managed to get a couple of good opportunities and win a few titles. And then, like, now in Portsmouth, most people know me. And a lot of people respect me, and, you know, like...
But I think that's a credit to you in terms of what we've spoken about over the last hour or so is that resilience that you had, the discipline that you had from 5 years old.
Yeah.
And you truly believed in yourself. You even said at 14, 15, during that divorce period, you knew this was the best thing for you at 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
I think that is what sets you above and made you to that point where you're going to be. And that self-belief, and I think we need it. And I want to bring this on to the last bit that I really wanted to speak to you about is men and suicide. Portsmouth has a high rate of suicide, certainly in young men. How do we encourage more people to speak about the highs and the lows, the emotions? How do we do that? Because we see it now in celebrities standing up saying, I've struggled, right? And it's great. It's changing it a bit. I stand up and I tell my story, and I'm hoping I can change the world. But it needs people who can inspire. And you are certainly one of these people because of the path you've done. You've gone through the hardships.
Sure.
You've hit the highs, and you're going to still hit more highs.
Yeah.
How do we encourage this? How do we inspire young men to stop taking their own lives and realise that emotions are okay?
I think all of us, everybody has experienced, whether it be themselves or somebody else, taking their own life, right? And it's getting more and more, it is. And, you know, like, there's better days always coming, isn't there? There really is. And just surrounding themselves with positivity. Like, I'm in a completely different world, but I choose to spend my time with certain people rather than... I've got lots of people that would class themselves as my friend, but I take a backward step from a lot of people, you know, and that's not because I don't like them, it's because they're probably not good for me.
Yeah.
You know, like lockdown year, when we didn't have I didn't have boxing, and they said, "Oh, you can go do your home workouts," and that was probably the most depressed I've ever been in lockdown year, and I put a lot of weight on, and I was hanging around with people that maybe I shouldn't have hung around with, like not their fault, but maybe I shouldn't have been hanging around with, and I ended up drinking quite a lot every day through boredom.
Yeah.
And that thing of needing a social to keep me like, and at the time I didn't think it was bad, and then it weren't until I looked back, distanced myself from them people because I had to carry on with my boxing career. And it weren't until I made that kind of distance is when I thought about it to myself that they're not good for me. You know,
Takes a lot of self-awareness to do that.
Yeah, and like at the time I thought, oh, this is great.
Yeah,
I'm like having a social life for once, and I ain't got a boxing gym and things like that. Before you knew it, I'm 3 stone overweight. I'm kind of drinking every day. There was a time I was drinking like every day. Really, I'm not a drinker at all. Just because it was like at the time a social thing, and then it's kind of like it was lockdown year that kind of taught me, like after that and realising everything, that taught me that there's lots of people that want to be your friend now, Mike. There really is, and like I'm nice to everybody, and I choose who to spend my time with.
I think that's key.
Now I only really like if I was like with my girlfriend. I'm with my girlfriend a lot, or with the boys on a Sunday at my quiz night.
Yeah,
that's it. And like I could easily like make a phone call and do anything with anyone, really, with a lot of people. But I spend my time with people I feel safe with. Like I would never want to be that guy that. Oh, have you seen Michael McKinson? You know, the boxer that's done really well for us. I see him hammered walking down Albert Road the other day, acting like an idiot. I like to carry myself well, and so I choose to spend my time with people that I feel safe, that I'm gonna look all right with, you know, like and that's whether it be going to a nerdy quiz night. Yeah, I love that. That is me, and I
love that. That's great.
Yeah,
and I think the key word there, and it's feeling safe. This is what this podcast is about. And I think it's what your boxing community is about.
Sure.
It's bringing people together into an area where they can release, they can talk, they feel safe.
Yeah.
And we build this community where it's accepted. And we can be talking about anything from boxing to football to nutrition to things that emotionally matter as well. And that's what keeps more people on this planet.
I always go back to boxing because that's my world,
yeah.
And boxing has helped a lot of people. Like it really has. I've kind of been a part of like the charity boxing shows and things like that. There's a lot of people that struggle and they start boxing and then become obsessed and addicted to boxing, and they've changed people's lives, and there's people that have struggled mentally, and I think boxing training is a great cure for a lot of things, and also a boxing gym is probably one of the most welcoming places. So like the scariest part is going through the doors on the first day.
Yeah.
But like in a boxing gym, you've got all people from all sorts of worlds that come together and like help each other and train together, and like people that on the outside world you wouldn't put together, you know, all sorts of careers and types of people. They all come together, and like I think boxing's a great way to escape, and that's what a lot of people that start boxing late for the training or to have a few that's their escape.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, because I think it's exercise. It gets us moving.
Yeah.
In a community where you feel safe. Like you say, so diverse. Mental health is so individual. And this is what I like about this podcast. You know, I've got you on this week. Next week, I'll have somebody else who has a different view or a different story, because every human's got a different story. Some of your Instagram followers and fans who might have listened to this podcast, hopefully they'll hang around and listen to the next one and hear something completely different that isn't coming from the high-end athlete world. It could be, you know, a police officer. It could be a CEO of a company. And people just listen and go, God, do you know, I never would have thought that about that person. And you must have seen all of this in the boxing community.
Oh, wow. I've trained alongside, like, just being in a gym, and not just the professionals, all over. And I remember once I was in the gym, and I just remember spending like time with everyone. I'd speak to everybody in the gym, whether they're professional or not. And there's one guy, I went on holiday years ago, and he was over here. He was like a language student, and you just think he was a normal guy. And I went on holiday to where he was from, just on a random. He was like, "Oh, come see me." You would never think this guy is like really successful in this country, and like he arranged for a taxi to pick me up, and I arrived at his house, and it was like a big, huge house, and that's just because I've gave time and like shown like love and respect to every single person in the boxing gym. You know, you never really know.
No, you don't. you don't know anyone. And I like to think 99% of humans are kind and want to help other humans.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
Yeah, and another thing, boxers get stereotyped a lot. I really do think they do. And
do you think they get thought of as not being the sharpest tools and
possibly, and angry, and show-offs and egotistical and things like that? And I can speak for amateur boxing and professional boxing, and it's far from the truth. They're the most respectful, hard-working, genuine guys.
You can see that shines through in your character, by the way.
Yeah, because they're very serious in this. They're very disciplined. You have to be disciplined. And, you know, I know there's like other types of like boxing where there's egos come out and things like that. But in my world of professional boxing, it's far from the truth.
I know we make it a bit of a circus now, don't they, when they do these to sell tickets.
Of course. But even the guys on the TV and the way they're acting, in real life, they're like brilliant people.
Yeah.
They're just really good at selling tickets.
We know it's a show now.
Sure.
The whole thing's a show. Social media is a show.
Yeah.
Good and bad, isn't there? Positives and negatives to everything. But, okay, what I want to do is say thank you very much, Mike, for coming on. Been an inspiration to listen to your story, to be fair. Listening to the highs and lows and what you go through. I have the utmost respect for you and the dedication you've put into the sport. And I have got no doubt that you are going to carry on proving people wrong, and it's McKinson versus the world.
That is so. Yeah, brilliant.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks for being here, and thanks for being you. This was Hello You, where real conversations create real change. If today's episode moved you, challenged you, or simply made you feel seen, then share it, talk about it, and be part of the ripple. And remember, no matter where you are or what you're facing, you're never alone in this. We're building something together, and there's always room for you. I'm Dan Darwin, and until next time, be kind to your mind, be kind to yourself, and hello, you.